Hello everybody, my name is Funmi and this is Public Eye. Today's topic is police brutality. Now, from the 80s kill and go to today's SARS, it does not appear like the Nigerian police and the Nigerian people are friends, despite the slogan. What exactly can be done to change this reality? Well, that's what today's show is going to attempt to find the solutions to. What we try to do on the show is to find areas where we can commit to one solution so that we can make our lives just that much better. To start, I would like you to see this.
Kọ́lá ṣàánú mi jọ̀ọ́ torí Ọlọ́run mo bẹ̀ ẹ́ gbogbo àwọn ọ̀rẹ́ mi náà ti ń pọn ọmọ wọn picture ni fẹ́ jẹ ṣé picture ni mo fẹ́ jẹ ni mo fẹ́ gbé sẹ́yìn àlọ́ ọmọ àti ìyàwó ní picture.
Ètò ẹ̀ náà wá ṣe wọ́n fún yín náà
wọ́n fún wa
gbogbo kí ni àwọn bá yín ṣe kìtẹ́
wọ́n bá mi ṣe táwọn ọ̀rẹ́ mi tó ń ṣàkọyọ bá wọn pẹ́ iye Kọ́lá báwo ló dẹ̀ ṣe a sọ pé ọmọ mi náà ti lóyìnbó bí ọmọ pọ̀ ọmọ mi ti lóyìnbó ní sọ́mọ́ á lọ lóyìnbó kókó ẹ ǹlẹ́ o ya Fúnkẹ́ ẹ kú ilé ọmọ mi ṣẹ̀ṣẹ̀ dé wá ti lóyìnbó ẹ̀yin náà dà mo ti bómi sí balùwẹ̀ tó máa wẹ̀ kó ṣanra mú ìyàwó àtọmọ wa lè ṣá.
Hey.
Hello. How are you?
I'm fine.
How is Nigeria?
I always tell you, all this insecurity noise and stuff, it's just media overblowing things. Everywhere is fine. Yeah.
Okay, if you say so.
Hey, boo-boo.
Hi, Daddy.
Are you guys going out?
We just got back, so I need to go make lunch for her.
Okay. Be careful, Be careful out there.
2019 UEFA Champions League final. It's Tottenham Hotspur against the five-time European Cup winners and last season's beaten finalists, Liverpool. Approaching the final 10 minutes in Madrid. Flurry of activity in front of Alisson. In by Milner. Origi! No arguments now. It's Liverpool's Champions League. Tottenham had no answer.
We were watching, a young lady ran into the place and she was shouting, help, help. And I saw two men in mufti, very dirty. They were beating somebody that we know and they were dragging this boy. So myself and Kolade Johnson stood at a point. He now pointed the gun towards us. I was like, God. Kolade now said, I don't die. So he was falling backward. When I now looked at him, I saw his trouser turn red. I now shouted. So the boys around, they now summoned courage. They now ran towards him and picked him. So they tried to get a taxi to take him to the hospital. But the taxi men around were scared, maybe because of the police or whatever. They refused. The young guy, they now said we should bring taking me. They now drove to the hospital. So it was later we now heard that he did not make it.
That was a reenactment of a true news story, the story of Kolade Johnson. It was all over social media about a year ago. And so it was a difficult watch for me, and it's a double difficult watch for my first guest this morning. And I'm not going to waste time, I'm just going to introduce him. My guest is Boluwade Awakan. Boluwade is Kolade's half brother. Hello.
You're welcome.
I'm sorry.
Thank you.
That's all I'm going to say to start, that I'm really sorry.
Thank you.
To also have this conversation with us this day is someone else who, because we're going to be talking about the police, and I didn't want a situation where we got just the police to talk again and to defend themselves. But Dr. Kabir Adamu is a strategic security and intelligence specialist, and so should be able to have this difficult conversation with myself and Kolade's brother. I wanted to invite Kolade's brother. I did not want to rehash the pain for the family, but I know that this kind of pain is one that a lot of Nigerians and a lot of Nigerian families can identify with, because this thing has been going on for a long, long time. At the beginning of the show, I mentioned something called kill and go. When I was 8 years old, I knew that was what the police was called. A unit of the police was called in Nigeria in the 80s, kill and go. That's what we knew them as. To hear a new generation of people decades later still talking about SARS is really, really troublesome. And it's something that maybe we should really, as people and as a nation, start to address even more seriously. So I want to start the conversation with Boluwade and to say, how's your mom doing?
She's doing fine.
She's doing fine. What about the rest of the family? Kolade's wife, Kolade's child?
I would say they are doing fine because we do communicate and talk with each other sometimes.
Yeah. How has this tragedy, what happened to Kolade, changed your family?
I would say it's really a tough story, but this is life. You must just accept things the way they come.
Tell me about Kolade. What sort of person was he?
Number one, I would say there's the love of my mother, because he was the one staying with my mother for a long time. I would say he has been with my mother since childhood. They both left the house in the morning to her office, because Kolade School was in front of my mother's office. That's at Radio Junction along Alausa there. My mother happens to be a staff in Lagos State Printing Corporation then. There was a school in the front of the Lagos State Printing Corporation. That's where Kolade started his primary school. They do go together every day and come back every day. They are so used together. Meanwhile, I would say, since the demise of Kolade, my mother has not been finding it well at all. Despite the fact that we still have some other, we are still like 5 more. She still always remember Kolade. Even the last July 8th happens to be Kolade's birthday. I saw her crying. I couldn't just wait. I left to my own house. I know I've been petting her for a long time, but I found out that she will always remember Kolade, because that's the first person I would say travel abroad, either to South Africa, among all the peers of the children. So she's so much expecting something from Kolade, and she couldn't get it. Only thing she couldn't get from Kolade is a son from South Africa, of which the mother could not allow him to come to Nigeria. You only have a chance to see them once, when they came for a program at this, there's a church, TB Joshua program. It seems the lady attends TB Joshua church in South Africa. So they happens to have a chance to come to Nigeria. That is the only time we are able to see them face to face. Since then, it's only phone conversation. So my mom has not been finding it very well. I'm not really okay seeing her like that. But That is life.
What has happened to the policemen who killed Kolade?
I will tell you, to my own knowledge, I was thinking nothing has happened. Truly, the man has been dismissed from the police. But all the time we've been attending courts, it seems as if they are trying to turn the case around in another way, because I felt there should be justice by now, since March 31st. I'm not willing that they should kill anybody, but I want to see that the society sees that something has changed concerning the way police handle the society. But nothing like that has really happened. After that, several other killings has come up, and nothing is being done. So I would say the man is still enjoying, because anytime I show up in court, I saw him looking as if somebody coming from his house. In fact, looking more robust than I do. So I felt somebody is backing him up somewhere. I'm not actually, looking for his death, but I'm seeing that this man is not even feeling that he killed somebody at all.
What I wanted to know is, what will justice mean to you and your family?
To me personally, I'm going to court because I don't like going to that court.
How often do you have to go to court?
Like, I've been in court for 5 times now. The last time we had to go to court, I was not aware because the date was not given to me in time, but some member of my family happens to attend about a month ago, maybe immediately after the rest of the lockdown, but I was not there. Right. But when I was there, it's about 5 times that I was in court before the lockdown.
Yeah.
I would say I don't really like what is really going on there. Number one, I felt the court hearing is between the police and the man who happens to be the convict. No any mention about Kolade's family. We are just attending to see what is really going on with the case. Truly, this morning, I was enlightened much about that, and I felt I'm learning. I met a man in the studio who happens to enlighten me about that case, that's every course of justice has a process. Okay, I accept that. But what I'm seeing in this case is that it's as if some people are trying to change over what's supposed to come up. Truly, to me, justice is seeing the society peaceful. No any other case like Kolade issue, of which is still coming up. Because after Kolade issue, I've heard about 5 different cases of shootings like that. Still happening till now. Nothing is being done. I'm looking at it that if this man, who happens to be this convict of this case, is still moving around the society as if nothing has happened, it's not really justice. I'm not asking into the government to kill him, but at least they should make it a point of correction for every other police who undo their gun or anything concerned to them without thinking of who is around the society or without any training before they will undo it. Because I felt the man was saying in the court that he didn't mean to shoot the gun. But more than 3 bullets was found in Kolade's body. That means he handled the gun wrongly. If he's not meaning to shoot the gun, but the doctor found more than 2-3 bullets in his body.
Who took care of Kolade's burial expenses, hospital bills, and all of that?
I would say most of his friends did that. We only received a token one day. That is the day we are going to bury Kolade. I was in my sister's out there because my mother was there that day at Mangoro. Some police officers, women, they came in their, because it's in the youth around there, we are so aggressive to see police around. So they came with a letter of condolence and a parcel that just to take care of the people who came, to greet us concerning Kolade's situation. And since after that day, nothing from the police.
What was in the parcel?
In the parcel, I found a letter because I was the one that opened it. I found a letter of condolence and a cash.
Do you mind telling us how much it was?
I would like to tell you that the cash is within 250,000. If I will not make a
So the police gave a letter of condolence and 250,000. That's all.
Yes.
So there was no there was no compensation to the family for the loss of a life.
No any compensation apart from what they mentioned in that this is just to take care of the people
For
who
the
came
burial,
along. That is what the women mentioned that day.
Right. And so all the hospital bills, all the mortuary expense, all the burial expense was borne by Kolade's family and friends.
Families and friends.
Right. That's very interesting to note. You know, and you didn't know the process itself until somebody in the studio today educated you. So you didn't know what you guys were going to the court to do, what you want to achieve, what will be expected of you whilst you are there.
Yes.
Nothing.
Truly, somebody approached us, a lawyer approached us then, and we can file a case for compensation. But we don't know much about it because we are expecting that something should come from the police, either by letter of appreciation, something like that, but nothing like that. But the lawyer told us that we can sue the police concerning, for compensation for Kolade's death, but that can only come maybe after the man has been convicted. That is what I was told then. But today I was enlightened that such kind of pattern has been already condemned by the Supreme Court, that the same case can go along with the case of the man convicted, but we are not aware of that, so we have not really made any move, and nothing has really been happening then.
All right. I mean, I want to say once again, I'm really sorry about what happened to your brother and what your family is going through, because I know you speak with a lot of dignity, but losing a family member, a son, a partner, a husband, father in that way has effects on the family for years and years to come. So I don't know if, do you know if, for example, anybody in the family is getting any help from either religious organizations or some sort of psychological support with dealing with the trauma?
I would say, truly, some family and friends I have told you gather some things along during that time to assist my mom, and that is during the time of his death and the time of his burial, which comes along within maybe 3 months or 2 months. I mean, let's say 2 months after his death. Yeah. So after then, nothing has been coming up.
Right. Okay. All I can say is sorry. You know, and I hear you when you say what will be good, what justice will mean to you is this: if these kind of things don't happen anymore in Nigeria, or at least happen less and less in Nigeria, as well as I do really think that your family should be compensated for the loss that has been brought to them. We're going to take a break. When we come back from, because it's going to be, we're going to discuss with several other people, some of whom you have met already, regarding not just this case, but just the idea generally of police brutality and what we really ought to do about it in Nigeria. I'll take a break. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I'm going to have a conversation now with someone who I'm hoping will bring some sort of distance and at the same time closeness to the issue. Dr. Kabir Adamu is joining us via Zoom, which is the way we all live now. And he's a strategic security and intelligence specialist. Can we ever get Nigerian police better? Dr. Kabir, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Funmi. I will try and give you an answer. In September last year, the UN Special Rapporteur on Extrajudicial Killings, Agnes Callamand, visited Nigeria, mainly because of these accusations of extrajudicial killings and brutality, and several other human rights abuses allegedly by the Nigerian police. Now, her interim report is very instrumental to understanding what is wrong with the Nigerian police. The report is out there. Anyone who wants, any listener who wants it, just check Agnes Callamand, visit to Nigeria, September 2019. That was an interim report. She gave the Nigerian government from September to June this year, when she would now bring out the full and final report, because she mentioned certain things that need to be corrected. And the answer to your question lies in those certain things. Number one is the law that formed up the Nigerian, established the Nigerian police. It was created to meet a military objective. So the military created it with the objective of regime protection. and gave it the kind of powers that ordinarily a military establishment should have gotten, not a police in a democratic setting. And she was very good in identifying certain laws within the Police Act that gave them powers that are not in tandem with the democratic system of government. So as an example, the powers that the police have to shoot in certain instances, the equipment that the ordinary police officer is given when he's going out to do his job. The most common example we all would give is in a riot situation where there are equipment that can be used to quell a rioting crowd against using a gun to shoot a rioting crowd. So she gave all of those examples and gave out recommendations, specific recommendations regarding certain clauses within the Police Act that needs to be corrected. Now, unfortunately, over time, we have seen a reinforcement of the illegitimate use of power, because that is the crux of the matter. There is a legitimate power that we have given to the police to maintain law and order, law enforcement, as well as community order. That is a given fact. As long as people are living together, there must be some aspect of policing. So we have given them some legitimate authority to do that. But then over time, we have seen an illegitimate use of that power. When a police officer, for instance, stops a commuter, and then the commuter refuses to stop, and then he shoots at him. Or a young man is moving around and they call him a Yahoo boy, and then start beating him, or a young lady, and then start beating him. All of those are elements of illegitimate use of power. Then there are also several elements of human rights abuse perpetrated by some of these police officers. Now, the laws that unfortunately allowed that is the beginning point of the reasons for what is wrong with the Nigerian police. The second aspect of that is the training itself. The training period has been reduced. The training manual itself is almost, it's archaic. It's no more functional. The last time probably somebody checked the training manual would probably be in the 1920s. So they are being trained for a role that is not commensurate or appropriate for the current day requirement of a democratic society like Nigeria. Then the training environment itself, beyond the training manuals, is also in a very dire condition. Not too long ago, a daring journalist actually went, and I'm sure the rest is history. He went into one of the training schools, and we all saw what we saw. So that too is another aspect. Then the trainers themselves, unfortunately, the trainers, what they know, what they're churning out, is also not commensurate with the requirement of a democratic society like the Nigeria of today. Now, all of that together is one component. The other component is the administration of the police itself. In Agnes Kalaman's report, she talked about monitoring and evaluation. Who puts an eye on the police to ensure that they are doing what they are supposed to do? I know the ready answer will be probably the Police Service Commission. Of course, there is the total absence of what I would call an arbiter. Someone who, if you and I, as an example, our rights are trampled upon by the police, we can go to, as an ombudsman, that's the word I was looking for, an ombudsman that you and I can go to and complain, and that person will have the powers to invite maybe the IG of police and ask him questions regarding accusations or allegations of human rights abuses by the police. What we have currently are units or departments within the police itself. So what we have and what the pressure has been is for an independent body that would have supervisory role over the police, so that where human rights abuses are conducted, you and I can go to that ombudsman, quote and unquote, and that ombudsman will have the power to invite the Inspector General of Police or his representative, and questions will be answered.
A lot of these issues are not known in details to the public. And if people don't know the details of issues that are central like this, it exacerbates the breakdown in trust between institutions and people. So, and because I've got to go, I could sit down, we'll talk about this, throughout the time, because there's a lot of nuance and elements to examine. But two things is, on the people sitting with me now and people watching at home are citizens. Their primary concern is, whilst before these reforms occur, how do we act in a way that protects us better when dealing with our police?
As a Nigerian, just have it at the back of your mind when you approach a police officer that the same trauma that you are going through is the same trauma that he's going through. And last time we had a conversation with you, I talked about the 5 stages of trauma. Some of them are visible, some of them are not visible. So if he's angry, you know he's angry, and that one is okay. If you know how to handle an angry person, then you would angry. But the worst thing that you can do is to argue with an angry person. Because remember that angry person is holding a gun. And unfortunately, in certain circumstances, he's even intoxicated. I hate to say this and to admit it, but it's the reality. And you asked me a question, and as a professional, I need to address it. He's sometimes angry, he's also intoxicated. So in that period, imagine that the person in front of you is President Buhari, and everything he tells you, just say yes, sir. Because it is your life and your safety that is paramount at that period in time. When you say yes, sir, whatever he tells you, do it. If you're lucky, you have a surreptitious way of recording whatever it is it's doing to you, record it surreptitiously. And then when you leave that place, you can. There are several complaint platforms that have been provided by the police itself, and there are several individuals that are out there who are ready to help you when you're out of that situation.
All right. I mean, it's an uncomfortable compromise because we shouldn't be talking like this to ourselves. But in the short run, this is a good thing to keep at the back of our minds. I would like to end on asking you, particularly regarding Kolade's family, and his brother Boluwade is here, that, you know, he said earlier, whilst you were not with us, saying it would be good to get some sort of compensation, justice on one hand, not just for him, but also for the society, so that people know that you can't just get away with this, but also for this family to be compensated. What are their chances?
I don't know if they've contacted the National Assembly. There are committees on issues like this, and the best arm of government that can oversight the police is the National Assembly. With the case, that the little I can remember of the case, I know they have a good chance if they contact the National Assembly beyond, the judicial process that they may have, pursued. The National Assembly can also assist them in that regard. So my advice to them would be to explore that possibility, approach the member or the senator representing them, have him support whatever the case that they are pursuing, and then through those two committees, a lot can be achieved beyond the judicial process if they are pursuing one at this point in time.
All right. Well, thank you, Doctor. I could talk with you all day, as I always say. I'm going to look forward to a future where that might happen with the information that we can provide today. Thank you very much, Dr. Kabir.
Thank you.
All right. I will see you again another time. Trust and believe that I might have to drag you on some other issues. Thank you, and bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
It will be an honor. Bye-bye.
We're going to continue the conversation, but generally on police brutality. I didn't want a situation today where I was sitting with police and we were going back and forth, because I've had many, many conversations with the Nigerian police, one of which you will see now. But my guests to have this side of the conversation with would be, I'll start with the gentleman on my right-hand side, and that's Mr. Okechukwu Nwaguma. Mr. Nwaguma is the Executive Director of RULAAC. RULAAC is the Rule of Law and Accountability Advocacy Center. It says exactly what it is. This is a body that advocates and works to try and build an environment where the rule of law prevails in Nigeria. Good morning.
Good morning. My pleasure to be here.
Good to see you. All right, also with me on today's show is Mr. Tijani Mohammed. Mr. Mohammed is the Director of Police Investigations at the Police Service Commission. Now, the Police Service Commission, we have to understand that it is the leading civilian oversight body of police. which is committed to building an international standard police practice that responds to security demands of the citizenry through prevention and prompt detection of crime and all of that. What you want to remember is that they actually also have some sort of role to play in who stays in the police, why that place, how they should be in the police, what the police should be like in Nigeria. So, Mr. Mohammed, good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Mr. Mohammed. Do we have the police that we deserve as a nation?
Well, like I said before, if we don't have police personnel on the streets, we cannot sleep with our eyes closed. We have the police on the streets, we have Nigerian Police Force. But whether we have the police we deserve, for now, I don't think we have the police we deserve because they don't have the equipment, sufficient facilities to work with right now. Even the strength, the staff strength of the police is still below what is required in terms of the population of Nigeria.
Right.
So, yes.
Mr. Nwaguma, would that be your assessment of it too?
My straight answer to that question is that you can't have the police you deserve unless you have the government you desire. Because the police is a mirror, it's a reflection of the character of the state. And if you want me to extend that, I can tell you that.
So it's less a reflection of the people of the country, but the character of the state.
It's a reflection of the character of the state, not of the people. So when they keep saying people deserve the police they have, I think it misses the point. Because if you look at the history of the Nigerian police, for example, the Nigerian police is a vestige of colonial police. Now, the colonial police was set up as a force of occupation to suppress, local resistance to colonial domination. And so Nigeria at independence inherited the institutions and culture of the colonial police. That culture remains intact. Those structures remain intact. Efforts over the years to reform the police have failed because there's also no political commitment on the part of the political leadership to fundamentally reform the Nigerian police. So the police serves the interests of the state.
So the inference will be that the interest of the state is at variance with the interest of the people.
Yeah, it does happen. It depends on the nature of the state. In a democratic society, the interest of the people, is almost at par with the interest of the state. In an authoritarian society, it is the ruling class. So and that is why we have what we call, every state defines the philosophy of its own policing. Democratic state, you see democratic policing.
Yeah.
In an authoritarian state, you have a regime police, a police that protects, regime protection, as opposed to the protection of the population.
Yeah.
A democratic police should serve and protect the interests of the people and not the interests of the state. So what we have in Nigeria is a police that is interested, in reinforcing, in protecting the interests of the state and suppressing public interests.
All right, I'm going to come to, because one of the things I want to separate one from the other in this conversation. There's a larger conversation about the police reform. I want to ask you about that, Mr. Mohammed, in particular, regarding those kind of cases. There have been so many cases, I don't think there's been any conviction. There's been dismissals, but not convictions. Correct me if I'm correct about this. And why is that so?
Well, you see, the Police Service Commission is a legal entity and it has its laws that govern its operations.
Yeah.
When you say those cases, the personnel involved have been dismissed, but no prosecution and conviction, I think it's a kudos to the commission if they are dismissed. That is where our powers terminate.
Yeah.
Yes. The prosecution does not lie with us. The power to prosecute does not lie with the commission. We discipline.
Yeah.
We appoint. We promote. That is purely the mandate of the commission.
Right.
But let me tell you, when you talk about justice system, it's a very long process. It must start from somewhere and then terminate somewhere.
Yeah.
You understand? The power to prosecute, perhaps, unless it is vested in another body by a law of the National Assembly still rests with the Nigerian Police Force.
Because I was just going to say
and
that.
the office of the Attorney General of the Federation.
Yeah.
Do you understand? So these are the bodies responsible for prosecution. Short of calling the commission to give evidence of what we saw before we dismissed, there is nothing else we can do.
Right.
Yes.
How's about recommendations? Because I know that there's been a lot of talk about the police reforms through the years.
Yes.
Why exactly has none of that, apparently none of that? Because there's a lot of good recommendations within the reforms. It seems like it's because none of that has happened, even you have the situation of states wanting to start their own police force.
Well, when you talk about reforms, is a matter within the powers of the federal government, the government.
Yeah.
You understand? And then once reform panels are set up and they make their recommendations, there are various agencies that are supposed to implement them.
Yeah.
Do you understand? So in matters of promotion, the elements of reform that involve promotion is done by the commission.
Yeah.
The elements that have to do with discipline is done by the Police Service Commission. Those that have to do with recruitment is done by the commission. And in carrying out these assignments, we follow our processes, our guidelines. And the guidelines ensure that the people we recruit, we do background checking to ensure that these are people that we can bring it to the Nigerian Police Force. And then when they come in, we'll have minimal complaints in terms of misconduct. And then in terms of promotion too, the same thing happens. Is those that deserve that we give.
I'm interested in
and
the
then
recruitment
when
bit.
we have bad eggs whose cases are reported and we investigate and we confirm and they are prima facie cases, then we also discipline them.
Yeah, by dismissing them.
Well, not always. Dismissal is the ultimate. You understand? In some cases, we reduce them in rank. You understand? Various, even letters of advice and all of that are parts of...
what are the recommendations for recruitment? Because sometimes, you wonder, we've had situations where we've sent reporters out to report in police stations, and something as basic as at the desk, the way they are treated itself, you begin to wonder, who trained these people? Why is the training? Don't they know what they're supposed to do?
Well, you see, like my brother over there said, you understand, sometimes this issue is systemic. Do you understand? When you have principle of federal character and all of that, do you understand? And then every segment has to be represented in an institution. You find what you see is the best we can get from whatever area.
Yeah, so it's almost like you have your hands tied. Whilst your hands are tied, you find the ones you can find.
You get the best out of what you get.
Yes,
you have.
yes.
And then, yes, they have to represent areas where they come from.
It's interesting that mention meaning of federal character, and then the situation we have now where states are asking for their own security outlet. There's a whole conversation about Amotekun and so on and so forth. Because that tells me that they are not satisfied with who is being recruited as best practices. I mean, does it seem like we are stuck with this situation? If we don't have the political will, we have handicaps within the structure, like the recruitment process, the requirements of the recruitment process not being purely merit. Are we stuck with this situation?
Let me tell you the story of police recruitment in Nigeria. You know that Nigeria returned to the democracy in 1999 after nearly 17 unbroken years of military dictatorship.
Yeah.
Now, by 1999, the Nigerian police manpower was about 150,000 or thereabout, which was, because during the military rule, no promotions, no recruitment, officers died, and so they kept. So to make up for that shortfall, the president then, Obasanjo, ordered a massive recruitment drive to make up for that shortfall. Now, the plan was to recruit between 2000 and 2004, 40 police officers per year. Now, after the first exercise, the president ordered a moratorium. You know why? An audit was carried out and they found out that more than 50% of those recruited, in his own words, were criminals and misfits. That the process was circumvented and enabled criminals and misfits. I'm quoting the president. So you find out that, so when we talk about the quality of personnel in the Nigerian police and the fact that trainings don't seem to make any change, it is because we have untrainable people being recruited into the Nigerian, and those are the ones you see in the street who shoot at the slightest, excuse. So the recruitment process, even though under the police regulation, is clearly, the procedure, the guidelines are clearly spelled out, they are in the main circumvented. And that is why politicians also send their own list. People get into the police merely by paying bribe. People get into the police with certificates belonging to other people. I know police officers who are bearing names that are not theirs, but names of the owners of the certificates, because the minimum qualification is O level. So certificates, you see people, officers coming in with certificates that are not theirs. So these are people who don't understand the basics. So you can't even train them. And so when you see this, the states talking about it is because there is loss of confidence in the police as it exists, in its inability to meet the safety and security needs of the people. Even in terms of funding, federal government has the primary responsibility of funding the police, but federal government funding of the police represents a mere contribution. State governments contribute more in terms of funding, providing equipment, money, and all that. The Lagos State government has Lagos State Security. That is why you find in Lagos, relative to other states, they seem to be, a bit relatively, better, because they get support from the state government, and the same thing happens all over.
Right.
And so when states are asking for their own policy, because we cannot continue to fund the federal police and yet they're not serving the purpose, the security, they're not meeting the security needs of the various states. That's why you see all the clamor.
What would you say about that, what is just said now about the recruitment process? Because that's at the heart of it. If we could recruit better quality policemen, I mean, there are other issues in terms of funding, in terms of equipment and all of that. But first, to start with, the idea that people who are, and I can see it happen, the idea that people who might be criminal would deliberately try and get other people who have criminal intent into the police, is scary, but it makes sense that might be something that can happen. The idea that because of, it's in the Nigerian situation where people want their own ethnic group, they want their state, they want, all of that happens. What can be done to tinker with that recruitment process?
You see, let me respond to his analysis of the situation. Like I told you, we are guided by our guidelines. You see, we call for adverts when we want to recruit. And people who are qualified, they apply.
So the adverts are public?
Yes. And it normally runs for 6 weeks. You understand? And then from the applications, we shortlist those that meet the requirements. From there, we do physical screening of the candidates. Their forms are endorsed by their local government chairmen, secretaries, or traditional rulers and so on. We are not there. They are the ones bringing out these people and endorsing their character as fit to join the Nigerian police. There is a limit to which we can go. So once that is done, they are brought into the fields. We screen them physically. You must meet the physical requirements of the Nigerian police, and the police is always part of it to ensure that, yes, these are the people who are fit to be part of the force.
Right.
You understand?
Yeah.
We also look at their documents to see that they meet the educational requirements of 5 credits and...
so on paper, it looks like...
Perhaps let me finish. They also go through exam, through medical screening, and then eventually they succeed and they come into the Nigerian police force. Right. That is the procedure. If you have done all of this and you still, in the words of Obasanjo, I don't know, I have not seen it, but I heard it being said somewhere. Do you understand? You still find armed robbers. Do you blame the Police Service Commission? You understand? I mean, if you have these elaborate process put in place to ensure that the people you bring in are fit and proper to join the Nigerian Police Force. You see, this is what we do. Yes. So, in fact, you can be part of the solution. So, if after all of this, we still have the problem we are elaborating here, so what do we do?
That's the question.
Yes.
What should we do? If after all of this, if this process, you know, as it is laid out, is followed through, you know, what is still the gap and how can we close it?
Police reform and political commitment to implementing far-reaching reform.
Also, at the end of the day, the public trust that is broken and is in many institutions, especially the police, would need to be rebuilt one way or the other.
Absolutely.
Otherwise, we'll have no nation. However, one of the things that becomes important is that citizens must be aware of what they need to be asking for now.
That's right.
What is going on now, part of what is making some change is that there's a lot of activism, particularly by young people, especially online, around the issue of police brutality. If they are also aware and equipped with the information as to what they really also need to demand for example, that this bill itself be assented to be passed into law. Because it's one thing to pass it, then the next level will get it. But first, start by passing the law. And if that's something that everyone can zero in on and say, this law, this bill contains this and this, which can make the police better, let us start by ensuring that that happens. I think that could be some sort of consensus. I don't know if you agree with me, that that's sort of consensus.
Yes, that will keep us on track.
I wanted to go back quickly to Kolade's family because we started from that. Just as an example of other families for when it happens. What more can be done for this family and other such cases that have happened since then and many countless we can't even begin to count as has happened before? What do you think can still be done in the short run?
If nobody follows up, if the police don't, if there's no sense that these people are interested in this matter, the chances are that that case may be swept under the carpet. The police may, even as they have told you that they have dismissed him, you may one day in 2-3 years later see those same officers in another state command. And and I'm talking from experience. I'm not just trying to malign the police. You know? But the point I'm making is that what is needed is for constant watch. You know, we need to monitor that case.
Who should do that constant watch?
A lot of civil society organizations that are working on police reform, you know, need to keep their eyes on that case to ensure that at least every time the case comes up in court, there are some, some groups show presence so that both the judiciary and the police know that this case is being monitored. That is the only way we can make progress in that case. Because what we want to see is that case is prosecuted to a logical conclusion and those people pay the legal consequence of that atrocity. Otherwise, that culture of impunity will continue and we'll have more cases of police kill people and then nothing happens. Now, concerning who you can report to, there are units within the police. Just like we have internal control systems, we have external accountability systems. Internally you have the complaints bureau, the office of the PRO. Every office of the PRO has a complaints unit. There's also the X squad, which they usually go on Mufti. Theirs is to monitor conduct of police officers, and to you can report any misconduct to them. There's also the one they call complaints response unit. If you feel offended by any encounter with the police, these are the various units you can send reports to. But also you can report to any human rights organization that has interest in monitoring law enforcement, conduct. My organization, for example, if we receive such reports, we can follow it up on your behalf and ensure that we get justice.
One of the things that we are going to do as part of our own responsibility as media is to list all the phone numbers and organizations that you can report cases like that to, because I think oftentimes we don't challenge this system enough. So from the non-government organizations who can assist, we list their address, list their phone number and their social media handle, as well as on the side of the police, all the commissions and the PR offices, we list all of them, get the information, and that's part of our own promise, for each show we do, all the resources that can help you, we will list it, so that people know where to go to. Because I find oftentimes people don't know exactly where they need to go to for results.
Yeah. All complaints against police end up in the Police Service Commission. And now to even strengthen its power of handling police misconduct, the Commission has recently set up an investigation department. So all such complaints when they come, and I think before the program ends, I will give you the outlets, the channels you can go through to reach us, so that you can also lay your complaints. Instantly, we'll just ensure that you are comfortable while we handle your matter.
Now, the Police Service Commission is supposed to be a civilian external accountability mechanism. But you see, the way it operates now makes it a bit problematic. Now, every president chooses to appoint a retired Inspector General of Police as chairman of that commission, which defeats the purpose of that civilian character that it ought to have. And so it seems to operate more like a department of the police rather than an external oversight mechanism. And that, for me, so we need to strengthen the commission. Right. The commission is a very important, mechanism for oversight and accountability. We need to strengthen it, make it truly civilian and independent for it to effectively discharge its mandates. The fact that a retired commissioner of police, a retired inspector general of police is chairman, he still sees himself as a police officer and operates the esprit de corps, So that for me is a major flaw.
Well, I wanted to make sure that I gave Bolade the opportunity to be the one to speak last, in this regard, because you've listened to all the conversation. Your family has had to deal with this. Once again, I say sorry, because I wish I could say more or do more, but for now, that's what I can say, even though it sounds to me a bit inane. But what are your thoughts, from listening to everybody?
From listening to everybody, I would say I've gained so much from listening to Mr. Tijani. Even from the room before I come in, I'm just asking, how can we go about having a compensation for the family?
That's a good question.
How is the family going to be comforted by the death of their breadwinner? That will be through a civil action.
Sure.
You understand? Your lawyer will advise you on what to do in terms of how to proceed against if it is found that the person has committed murder, he will be hanged or whatever the court says. If it is not murder and is manslaughter, he will be jailed. But while he is locked away, how will the family now be comforted? So you now go by civil action.
Shouldn't it be the police that you sue?
I'm not too sure of that.
Let me come in. I think it may interest him to know, the brother to the victim, that I know that one of the obstacles to justice is usually lack of information. For instance, people don't know what to do. The other one is the cost of justice.
Yeah.
A lot of victims can't afford the cost of even hiring a lawyer. But the good story is that there are civil society organizations that have support to handle such cases on behalf of victims that can go to court on their behalf and file actions for compensation. Now, I can recommend one or two to him. Maybe at the end of this program, I'll discuss with him. I'll tell him one or two. L'EDAP Avocats Sans Français, they are currently running a program where they take up cases, extrajudicial killing, torture, and go to court on behalf of victims. And of course, the police ought to be vicariously liable in this case, so that when, it's not just the particular police officer, but the police as an institution, And then concerning the criminal prosecution of the officers that are responsible for this, like I did mention, there's need for monitoring, and this is where civil society groups and the media, because one problem we see in this country is that something happens, it's in the air, before you know it, we have short memory. Elsewhere, this case the media will not stop mentioning it until we get to justice. So I think that media should continue to occasionally, beam the searchlight on this case and ask questions, so that the government will know that public interest is still, focused on this case.
We are doing the best we can. This is why we set up this project and this program. So for example, for that case, we will keep an eye on it. So I like to extract promises from everyone that comes on the show. You said you will speak to him regarding the kind of resources he can get.
Sure.
If you can do the hookup of the resources you can get, we can keep an eye on the process.
Absolutely.
Because on our website, we also actually have a countdown for each case. When it is resolved, we will say it is done. That is all we can commit to on this end. Because at the end of the day, what we really we're interested in is what can we all do individually that can at least make our lived experience as Nigerians better. I thank you both. And Boluwade, I thank you. My regards to your family. I hope that some peace comes out of this on the long run. We will do our best. And to Dr. Kabir, so I say thank you. And all of you who have been part of today's show, thank you very much. It's been Public Eye. All the information that is required or that we've got from the show will be available on all our social media platforms, as well as our website, and you'll see it on this show itself. Remember what we say with this show. We watch ourselves, we watch you, we hope you watch yourself too. Bye-bye now.